Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode. I'm Alex, I'm your nurse, and today we're talking about skin health, specifically why hydration may be more important than your skincare routine. Skincare is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's easy to feel like better skin comes from better products. Serums, acids, elaborate routines are everywhere. But skin doesn't start at the surface, it actually starts deeper than that. This isn't going to be an anti-skincare episode, it's just pro-understanding. So, in today's episode, we're going to cover the basic structure and function of the skin, how hydration influences skin health at a cellular level, why dehydration, what dehydration looks like on the skin, where skincare products actually help, and then nursing perspectives on simple, effective skincare. So, let's dig in. Anatomy. How the skin actually works at baseline. The skin is the largest organ in the body. It accounts for 12 to 16% of a person's total body weight. For adults, this can weigh on average about 8 pounds and can cover about 22 square feet. That's a lot. So, the skin helps with three main functions: protection, regulation, and sensation. So, for protection, it acts as a shield against injury, infection, chemicals, UV light, extreme temperatures, etc. For regulation, skin helps control body temperatures and water loss. And then for sensation, nerves in the skin allow us to feel pain, pressure, touch, and temperature. So there's three main layers of the skin as an organ system. So we have the epidermis and the dermis and the hypodermis. So starting with the epidermis, this is the topmost layer of skin, and this is the protective barrier that separates us from these external forces of the UV rays, the chemicals, the dirt, XYZ. The epidermis is made up of different kinds of cells, but mostly cells called keratinocytes, and these are what produce keratin. And these are constantly renewing and regenerating. So new cells are made at the lower level of the epidermis, and then these move to the surface every 4 weeks. They're just progressively moving up. And then that topmost layer is hardening and dying off and flaking off. And so this is why we see dry skin whenever we go vacuum or you need to put on lotion because you'll get patches of dry skin. And this constant renewal process of the cells is what makes up for that lost skin on the surface. There's also melanocytes, which produce melanin. And so this is why we have different skin colors. And melanin is what is produced when your skin is exposed to sunlight. So it's also why you get a tan when you've been outside for so long. And this protects the skin from the sun's harmful UV layers. So the more UV you get, the more the melanocytes are produced, and that is ideally meant to help protect your skin from any damage. We also have lymphocytes in the cell, and so these are important in the role of fighting germs. So they grab the germs and they take them to the nearest lymph node so that the lymph node can then flush them out, ideally, and we don't have to deal with any kind of infection from those. So then we move into the dermis, and this is the next layer below the epidermis, and this is what provides support, elasticity, and blood supply. And it's made up of a dense network of tough, elastic collagen fibers. And these make the skin strong and robust, but also allow for that stretchiness. If the skin is stretched a lot, for example, though, such as like on your belly during pregnancy, tears can actually occur in the dermis, and this is what is seen as those light lines on the skin. The dermis contains a network of nerve fibers and very small blood vessels called capillaries. And this is how nutrients and oxygen are passed into the cells in the skin and help maintain its health. This also helps to supply the sensation of the skin with those nerve endings and everything that's in there. Another function of the dermis is to help your body cool down if it gets too hot. And it's the layer of skin that contains the most sensory feeling cells and then the sweat glands. So this is why we sweat. And when we sweat, this is to help regulate our body's temperature so that we don't get too hot, so that everything can maintain at a good level of normalcy or homeostasis. Next level is the hypodermis, which provides insulation and cushioning. It's mostly made up of fat and connective tissue. So in this layer between the folds of the dermis, there are tiny little cavities, and in these cavities, they're stored with fat and water. And the fat is what acts as a shock absorber, and it protects the bones and the joints from any injuries or blows that it may receive. And so it also serves as insulation too. There's also hormones. Many hormones are produced in fat cells, as we've talked previously, in the layers and the cells of the hypodermis. So one example is vitamin D, which is an essential vitamin, and it's made when the skin is exposed to sunlight. So we'll do an episode on specific vitamins, but for now, just know that there is vitamin D in your skin, and it's super important to keep that up for overall skin health. All of these layers and their cells rely on water, lipids, which are fats, and proper blood flow in order to function appropriately. This system can be described as a brick and mortar system. So the skin cells are the bricks and the lipids and the water are the mortar. And if that mortar is compromised, then the barrier weakens. So the skin's primary job is barrier function, not aesthetics. But this brings us to why hydration matters so much and why it's so important. So water is essential for skin cell function. Hydration affects the cell turnover and repair that I was talking about. Enzyme activity involved in skin renewal, the elasticity and the resilience, and then that barrier integrity from the cushioning and the insulation. So well-hydrated skin maintains the barrier spacing and structure, which allows the barrier to function properly. When the body is dehydrated, water is then prioritized for the vital organs instead of the skin. And so then as a result, this is why you'll see things like getting dehydrated affects the skin so much. It's not getting the appropriate amount that it needs because it's being used for other vital systems. So this is why we want to make sure that we stay hydrated. See the hydration episode, because this can really help all of our organ systems, but our skin as a whole. So, hydration versus skincare products. Topical skincare works locally. It supports the very outer layers of the skin rather than changing what's happened systematically. Moisturizers help trap the water in the outer layer of the skin and help reinforce the skin barrier by slowing the water loss from the epidermis. So humectants like glycerin or hyaluronic acid, they attract water into the outer layer of the skin, while there's occlusive forms that seal what's already in the skin, so they seal the water in the skin and keep it from evaporating. And these products are very useful. They help protect, support, and stabilize the skin barrier, but they don't replace internal hydration. If your body doesn't already have it, then the moisturizers aren't going to replace it. This is why people can sometimes feel like skincare will stop working, or maybe they're not working enough, particularly during extreme sports or exercise or stress or illness. The issue isn't the product, it's a shift in your physiology. So skin cells depend on water delivered through circulation. When the body is well hydrated, water moves from the bloodstream into the deeper layers of the skin and then up towards the surface. Topical products can help to hold the water once it reaches the epidermis, but they can't replace any of the water that's not being supplied underneath. When internal hydration is low, the body prioritizes water for the vital organs, as we discussed earlier. So brain, heart, kidneys, and the skin just isn't on the top of that list. As a result, even the best skincare products can feel ineffective. Not because they don't work, but because the skin doesn't have enough internal water in order to actually work with it. Speaking of which. So understanding this reframes skincare frustration. Rather than assuming you need stronger or more products, it's often more helpful to ask what's happening inside your body that's limiting your skin's ability to respond. So from a nursing perspective, dehydration often shows up in the skin before people recognize it systematically. Dehydrated skin means that your skin is lacking water. It can appear dry, but it's not the same thing as having a dry skin type. So there's dry skin, oily skin, there's combo. And so that's a little bit different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you know your normal baseline of your skin and then that's changed and it's feeling drier or like cracking, or there's other problems that you don't normally have, then the problem may or may not be your products. It may actually be something deeper than that. And that's what we're talking about. So these signs can include increased fine lines or creases, dull or uneven skin texture, reduced elasticity, slower healing, and then increased sensitivity or itchiness on your skin. And this isn't just on your face, this could be all over your body as well. So while dehydrated skin lacks water, dry skin lacks natural oils. So to differentiate, dry skin is a skin type and dehydrated skin is considered a condition. Chronic dehydration can impair the skin barrier, so increasing water loss, making skin more vulnerable to irritants. This is because the body is using what little hydration it has in order to just function at baseline, and therefore the skin isn't getting what it needs in the way of hydration, since it's at the bottom of list of importance in relation to the other vital organs like we talked about. So treatment will begin from the inside out to replenish and maintain hydration throughout your body. And this doesn't mean that skincare is useless. I love skincare products. They can do really amazing things for you. But it's just to say that they have a specific role and they're not replacement for basic health practices in your hydration. So the primary role of skincare is to support the skin barrier, not replace the internal physiology. When the barrier is functioning well, skin is better able to retain moisture, regulate inflammation, and protect itself from environmental stressors. So remember, the skin is an organ. It's not just aesthetics. Basic skin care supports the skin barrier by cleansing, replacing, and protecting. Okay? So cleansing in a way that removes the debris without stripping the natural lipids in your skin, replacing the lipids and supporting the barrier structure with moisturizers like we talked about, protecting from UV damage with sunscreen, which is one of the biggest drivers of premature aging and inflammation, is not using sunscreen. When those foundations are in place, the skin is more resilient and more responsive to everything else. So active ingredients like retinoids, exfoliants, acids, these can all be useful tools, but they come with trade-offs. These products increase cell turnover and accelerate exfoliation, which raises the skin's demand for water, lipids, and then recovery time. Overuse of these actives without adequate hydration often leads to irritation, inflammation and redness, and barrier disruption, not better skin. So we have to use these in a supportive mechanism as opposed to replacing, right? In many cases, skin issues blamed on bad reactions are actually a sign that the skin doesn't have enough resources in order to keep up with the pace that's being demanded on it or the products that are being put on it. So good skincare works with the body, not against it. Hydration and barrier support set the ceiling for how much benefit any product can realistically deliver. So my nursing perspective for you, simple and effective skincare. From a clinical standpoint, effective skincare is boring. That's a good thing. In the healthcare setting, skin outcomes improve most consistently when the focus is supporting on your baseline physiology, not consistent intervention. The skin responds best to predictability, not overstimulation. So key principles to know: adequate fluid intake throughout the day, so skin cells have access to the water that they need. Gentle cleansing once or maybe twice daily, depending on your skin type, to remove the debris and excess oils without disrupting your barrier. Daily moisturizer, appropriate for skin type, again, dry or oily or combo, whatever yours is. This supports barrier integrity and reduces water loss, so we can hopefully support that hydration that we're already doing. Consistent sunscreen use, which protects against chronic inflammation and DNA damage and therefore aging. These steps work because they reduce the workload on the skin. Instead of forcing rapid turnover or correction, they allow normal repair cycles to function efficiently. Hydration isn't just about water alone. Again, we talked about this in the hydration episode, so I highly recommend you go watch it. Skin cells rely on proper electrolyte balance, just like the rest of the body. So sodium, potassium, magnesium, all the things. This helps to regulate fluid movement across the cell membranes. And without that balance, water distribution becomes less efficient, and it can even make adequate intake more difficult. So another one to note: sleep and stress play a quiet but critical role in your skin health. So cortisol directly affects skin inflammation, collagen synthesis, and barrier repair. So poor sleep or chronic stress doesn't just worsen skin appearance, it actually slows the recovery over time at a cellular level. So again, see the sleep episode on how we can improve our sleep, because solid sleep makes for an overall healthy health profile. So from a nursing lens, when skin isn't improving, the question isn't what product should we add? It's what basic need isn't being consistently met, and how can we fix that? So, key takeaways for today. Skin health starts from the inside. Hydration supports skin structure, repair, and resilience. Topical skincare supports this barrier but can't replace the internal hydration. Simple routines are often most effective rather than complex ones. And if you're experiencing external symptoms such as dry skin or irritation, the issue may actually be more internal. Healthy skin isn't about chasing products, it's about supporting the system that the skin belongs to. When hydration, sleep, nutrition, and stress are addressed, skincare becomes a support tool, not a fix. If this episode helped to reframe this for you or understand skin health as a whole, consider subscribing and share it with someone who's maybe overwhelmed by skincare advice. Send any questions that you have. I would love to hear. If you want to maybe discuss a specific topic, I'd love to help with that as well. Like and subscribe. I will see you guys for next week's episode, and thank you as always for listening.